Here, we are a family full of love and laughter. Our jobs are just a hobby because we have fun every day. MTC is the best university because every day presents an opportunity to learn about the world and ourselves. We do not take this opportunity for granted because we know we are privileged to be ambassadors for Namibia's most passionate brand. We are MTC ambassadors and we love it here. MTC, make the connection.
Here's the story of a handsome subscriber with a sister, a friend and a mom who were always needing airtime, and a lady who missed a call back from a job interview because she ran low on airtime. Over here, our super social lady who couldn't share with her friends because they ran out of data. Then they remembered Tamba from MTC. They dialed *682# and followed the prompt. That's right. Thanks to Tamba gifting, transfer in advance, they all got what they need. Thank you, Tamba. Tamba, Tamba, gifting, Tamba. Tamba, Tamba, transfer, Tamba. Tamba, Tamba, advance, Tamba. Tamba, Tamba, connecting, Tamba. Thanks to Tamba, we all are connected. Here's the story of a handsome subscriber with a sister, a friend and a mom who were always needing airtime, and a lady who missed a call back from a job interview because she ran low on airtime. Over here, our super social lady who couldn't share with her friends because they ran out of data. Then they remembered Tamba from MTC. They dialed *682# and followed the prompt. That's right. Thanks to Tamba gifting, transfer in advance, they all got what they need. Thank you, Tamba. Tamba, Tamba, gifting, Tamba. Tamba, Tamba, transfer, Tamba. Tamba, Tamba, advance, Tamba. Tamba, Tamba, connecting, Tamba. Thanks to Tamba, we all are connected.
Melvin Abdullah, who is the Chief Commercial Officer. We know that ever since COVID started, it's been really up and down, the lockdowns, first wave, second wave, third wave. And the one thing we have seen is Namibians uniting, corporates coming together, assisting and helping, and just meeting the Ministry of Health and Services halfway. We've seen different companies come on board, building makeshift hospitals, helping those in the streets, donating oxygen and all kinds of things. And we would sincerely like to thank those corporates. We have also seen MTC doing its most in terms of in fact, we are still hosting people in our tents that we bought late last year. We have done quite a lot, and that's why as a brand as big as MTC, we have been named the most helpful brand during COVID, in addition to being the most admired brand, which speaks to the many things that we have done for our own people during COVID, and which we will continue to do. You would also recall that when government wanted to distribute the famous 750 Namibian dollars, that MTC came up with a very innovative system how these monies could be distributed to the targeted Namibians in a very hassle-free manner, which is something that has been emulated around the world now in terms of that specific system. We are now in the third wave, and some African countries are already speaking about the fourth wave that might or might not hit Namibia around November, December. Hopefully we have things under control now. But if you look at the current situation, I think the Ministry of Health's target is about 60% in terms of vaccinations. And I think we are standing around 19.2%, which is still a far way off from where we want to be in terms of vaccinations. We know that there are a lot of debates going on in terms of whether people should be vaccinated or not. Those are the sort of debates we do not want to participate in. All we say as a brand is that we are encouraging those who want to get vaccinated to get vaccinated. And we want to make it easy for them to get vaccinated. So this morning we are going to launch what we call the VAXUP 081 campaign, which will be basically, and I'm going to ask Melvin to explain how this campaign is going to work from an electronic point of view. But this is basically a collaboration between MTC, the Ministry of Health and Social Services, and the Ministry of ICT, where we are going to encourage Namibians to get vaccinated. In addition to the many messages that you are receiving on your phones, that we are already collaborating with the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of ICT. So the VAXUP 081 campaign, like I said, is basically to encourage Namibians to get vaccinated, but importantly, to ensure that they do it in a hassle-free manner. We know that people are queuing up at the moment to get vaccinated. This campaign makes it easy for Namibians to get vaccinated. So let me hand over to Melvin to quickly explain how the VAXUP 081 campaign will work, and also what the sort of incentives are for those who will make use of the campaign. Melvin,
all right, thank you. Thank you all for coming. So with the VAXUP campaign, we have, from MTC's perspective, we have donated in kind both our services as well as our products at the value of 12 million Namibian dollars, which will also be directed to the first 130,000 MTC subscribers, whether prepaid or postpaid. Any of those who will want to come and get vaccinated, will incentivize those with giving them a free super hour package or a free 3 gigabytes of data for all the first time vaccinators. Now, why are we doing that? We have seen, especially our web package being one of the most admired products that we currently have in the market, one of the most loved products that we have in the market. This is just for us to give back to say, thank you for coming in, thank you for helping the nation in terms of getting vaccinations, because I always jokingly say, a sick citizen is not a paying citizen, and it's not a contributing citizen to the economy. So from MTC's perspective, we are seeing this campaign is to help the government in terms of getting our economy back to normal and helping the economy to start sustaining itself again. Now, how does this campaign work? MTC team, with our partners, we have developed an online registration platform. Exactly as Tim has said before, there was quite an issue with people having to queue up for a very long time, going into certain clinics where they would queue up for hours, and only to find out at the end of the day that there's a specific vaccine that they were looking for, and that vaccine is not available for them. So what MTC has done now is actually developed an online application process where you can actually go online, register, and select whatever vaccine that you prefer. And in addition to that, you can choose at which clinic you want to, your nearest clinic. When you've selected the nearest clinic, then you can select which vaccine that you prefer to use. And then you decide at what time you'd like to go in. So that time will be reserved for you. You'll be able to walk in seamlessly. The vaccine will also be reserved for you. So as you register, you'll be given a reference number to say you can come in at this time. We have registered you to this specific clinic, and then you'll be able to go in between that time period and then just walk in and get vaccinated. That solves two issues. One, it will help the ministry to keep track on how many vaccines they have and how many vaccines people have actually applied for. So it makes the logistical issues of people. I've also fell victim to that, where I went to a place and I was looking for my dose of AstraZeneca. When I got there, they ran out of stock the earlier morning, but I had been queued up for almost 3 hours. This platform will be able to assist the government in alleviating those type of issues. And then secondly, also to do crowd control, crowd management, social distancing. Instead of people having to queue up for hours, you know exactly what time your slot is. You get to that specific clinic, and then you'll be able to get vaccinated in that space. But the crux of the matter is, for having to use the services, will then be awarding to the first 130,000 customers. I don't know if there's anything else than that.
Yeah, so I think it is important to understand that this is, we're using the power of technology to help the ministry and to help citizens to get vaccinated. Secondly, MTC is incentivizing the first 130,000. However, after the 130,000 has been incentivized, it does not mean that the campaign stopped, because the technology will still be available. So you would still be able to get onto our technology and then register so that you can get vaccinated. I think it is very, very important to understand that this is a voluntary exercise. We are making use of technology to say, if you do not want to go and queue up, use the technology. So we do not want people to go around saying, yeah, MTC is paying people to get vaccinated. If you don't want to get vaccinated, you will not get vaccinated anyway. We are speaking to people who wants to get vaccinated, but there are just a few assholes in place. And that's why we are making use of our technology to ensure that those people can register online, know where to go, what time to go, and make sure that their preferred vaccine is available. So in a nutshell, that is what the VAXUP 081 campaign is all about. We have this at different locations. In Commerce, we have them in Windhoek, which is at the Windhoek Central Hospital, Oceana Parish, Rhino Park, Enschede, Greenwell, Omnicare. In Ochocholupa, we have Okahanja Hospital. Ochivarombo, we have Ochivarombo Hospital. In Grootfontein, we have the Grootfontein Hospital, Okakarara Hospital. In Hardap, Rehoboth Clinic, Marienthal Clinic. In Erongo, Wolfish Bay, Swakopmund, Omaruru and Usakos. And then in Khobabas, Oshakati, then in Mamusati, which is Tsandi, Okahau, Utapi, Oshikuku, Nanjokwe. In Oshikoto, we have Omothia, Wangwena, Tsumep, Engela, Enana, Okongo, Kunene, we have the Napuo, Korihas, Ucho. Kabango is Rondo Hospital, Ndama Clinic, Ndarapoyo Clinic. And then in Andara, Nyanyanga, Kabango West, Kurekuru, Karas, Kitmanshoop, Luderes, Karasberg, and then in Zambezi, Katima, Mulilo. So you'll see that we've covered all the regions, and we are going to be adding more sites as the campaign moves on. Very importantly, this campaign starts on the 21st of October, on Thursday, this coming Thursday, and then it will run for an indefinite period to ensure that we help the country get from 19% to 60% in terms of vaccinations. And it's a $12 million campaign in terms of the incentive that we're giving out. That brings us to the end of the press conference. If there's any, in the unlikely event that you may ask them now. Yes.
Good morning, my name is Shaligan Peterson. I'm a journalist with the Namibian. If we look at the stats in the last just 3 days, for instance, you see that the number of first doses and second doses administration decreased tremendously. I mean, 20 people less, 30 people less. How are you going to ensure that this message, except for the media, gets to the rural areas? Because that's where the problem is. If you're talking about a place like Kavango East and Kavango West, we don't get a lot of first doses there. And the current campaign with the ministry itself, where they go to these little areas, people still don't take up the vaccines. If you can take a success story, is perhaps Love Protects that of the First Lady, where they in fact go to the rural areas and they speak to those people, almost a door-to-door approach. They set up very close to people's houses and they promote taking the vaccine. How are you going to ensure that this message gets to the rural areas to ensure that they take up the vaccines, because that's where the main issue is, except for the rural areas now?
I think what the advantage with MTC is we have the power of communication. If you look at what we're doing with the smartphone campaign, which is going into rural areas to ensure that those who are sitting on 2G and Katoshias, so we currently have a lot of other initiatives going on. And we will be pushing our messages through those initiatives. Because you're quite right, in rural areas, and I think what we quite often do wrong is we send out a message in English and expect everybody to understand it. It is important that we communicate to people in the languages that they understand, because otherwise you're not communicating, you're simply sending a message. So we'll be using quite of our platforms to ensure that we're pushing the messages to the areas where we feel that communication is not, we're not talking about the likes of Bintu. Of course, we're talking about the outskirts where communication is not likely to go there. I think the power of radio is also very, very important because everybody listens to radio. But I think it is important that we translate these messages into the languages that people understand.
Yeah, I think just to add on to that, I think from an MTC perspective, our distribution channel is unmatched. We have a much higher reach into the masses than anybody else in the country, currently sitting at more than 97%. And one thing that we've been very good at in terms of servicing our products is being able to actually disseminate that information, exactly as Tim said, in various vernaculars. Using traditional realms, one of the biggest realms that the people use is definitely the use of radio and services. We currently have a lot of road shows that are happening. In these road shows, we're also going to use the specific platform to push out those road shows. Those smartphone road shows currently underway. We're currently busy with our IPO road shows. And we usually have regular road shows on the prepaid for our way products going on a weekly to monthly basis. So all these community centers, they know us, they know what we're about. Our distribution team is out there running around, always providing information in terms of how to educate our products. So we're going to use this as well as if it's our own product and disseminate that information going forth. We can do as much as we can, but that's one of the drivers that we're pushing for. Radio, traditional SMSs in various vernacular languages, us being able to do activations, going to local road shows, going to local shows that are arranged by councillors and so forth. We are going to be doing all that.
Just before I get to it, I think it's important to understand that it's always going to be a collaborative effort. It can't just be MTC or whatever brand or the ministry. It's a collaborative effort, and we appreciate this, the powerful role that the media has played and continue to play in terms of disseminating the message.
That's all right. My name is Kevin. I'm a radio president and journalist at Eagle FM. The way I see it is to say that MTC seeks to play its part in expediting the vaccination campaign by delivering 130,000 people for vaccination to the state. And the way I interpret the technology is to say that it's trying to root out the complexities and headaches of having to wait in the queue and having to guess how long the queue is going to be like. Already you know how it's going to be looking like. And that then being more like an incentive or being a push factor for somebody to want to get vaccinated. But you tend to see that it's not only the problem with logistics, the problem with the queues that's keeping people away from being vaccinated. It's also intrinsically philosophical, cultural issues to do with education, information. And the way you presented your technology, it does not in any way, the way I look at it, it does not in any way engage the person that wants to be vaccinated in the sense of educating the person and in the sense of debunking the common myths around the vaccine. My question then is, what has informed your intelligence in terms of the approach that you have there? The 130,000 people that you're approaching, is it because you have carried out a study to come to the point to say that more people are not getting vaccinated because of the headache of waiting in queues than those that are actually having divergent philosophical, cultural, intellectual views that are contrary to what you know about the vaccine?
Yeah, no, thank you very much for that question. I think it is important to note that this vaccination campaign is not in isolation. It links up with a lot of other initiatives. We have in the past collaborated with the Ministry of Health and Social Services to educate, because we know that the biggest obstacle in terms of us getting to the vaccination numbers that we want to achieve are exactly those issues that you mentioned. The myths, the miscommunication, some would say it's not miscommunication, it's communication. But we have done a lot in terms of educating Namibians about vaccinations, why you need to get vaccinated, because you still hear a lot of people, even our own staff members would say, but even if you get vaccinated, you're still going to get COVID. And it is because of the prior messages that went out around miscommunication and misinformation about COVID. So this campaign is not in isolation. We've done a lot with the Ministry of Health in terms of educating people about COVID-19. Because once you're educated, you can then decide whether you want to get vaccinated or not, based on your educated view about what is going on around the world. So I think it is important to understand that this is not in isolation. We did not just come up with a campaign, but education is very important, and we've played our part in terms of educating the nation. And that's why you will still see us sending out a lot of messages in collaboration with the ministry in terms of educating all Namibians about the vaccine. It's also important to understand that we are not targeting 130,000 people. The 130,000 people is just the ones that we are going to incentivize in terms of the budget that we came up with, which is 12 million. We are targeting, if we are able to get to 60% of where the country wants to get, then that is going to be our target. So I think we just need to distinguish between what the target is versus how many people we are able to incentivize.
Just a follow-up, does it mean to say that you have provision to say if this campaign is to be successful, you're able to really deliver this number, are you going to replicate it? To say we fund again, have another round?
Obviously there's going to be a review,
right.
An internal review, and also a country review.
Yeah.
Because if a campaign like this one is able to achieve the 130K numbers,
yeah,
then the ministry and ourselves and the country and corporates can then say, but this approach works. Why don't we invest in the approach? And you might see a lot of other corporates and the ministry coming to team up with us to say, why don't we take that number from 130 to 200 or to 300,000? But let's see how it goes. We are very optimistic that we will be able to achieve those numbers because we have done so much in terms of education.
Sorry.
My name is Selima from NBC. Coming back to the platform that was created, the online one, and just talking about those in rural areas, I just wanted to understand, perhaps, is there another platform that would be created for those that don't have access to smartphones, for example, to be able to call in and book instead of using the online platform to request or to look for a place to be vaccinated?
Yes, so we have a phase 2 of the platform that's going to come in. It's used via USSD. So USSD, you can use it on an ordinary handset, similar to what you do with internet banking and so forth. This is the same platform we had used for our EIG grant as well. So the phase 2 is currently under development at the moment. We will be able to actually start using, also doing registration using an USSD or SMS services at the end of the day.
Okay.
You've asked a very important question, because you're quite right. The technology might be excellent, but there might still be people who will not be able to access. And that's why we want to get to the next 3 to 4 years with everything we're doing with the 081 campaign to ensure that there's 100% connectivity across the country, so that we don't have questions like this in the next 3 or 4 years. If there is...
Your smartphone campaign.
Yes, your smartphone campaign. So if there's something we want to do, we want to press that button so that everybody participates exactly at the same time, whether you're sitting in the rural area or whether you're sitting in the two. But very important question.
Yes. Do you think that the incentives suffices to convince people to get vaccinated? We've seen companies try to do that. I mean, we wrote about it, a company who incentivized, and essentially the employee said, no, you can't buy me over to get the vaccine. We've had community workers say the basic issue here is dinner table discussions. That's how we're going to convince people to get vaccinated. Do you think that these incentives suffices to convince someone to get vaccinated?
Yeah, I think it's the approach. If you are going to say to people that I want you to get vaccinated and I'm giving you a super way, that's the wrong way of communicating to someone. Because somebody is not going to get vaccinated just because you're giving them a super way or 3 gigabytes. However, if you are saying, I am making this easier for you by providing the technology, because we know that you have hassles in terms of not knowing whether the vaccines are available, and therefore we are providing this technology to ensure that you can, from the comfort of your home, register, make sure that you have a time and a date where you go to, and by the way, we would be giving you a super aware or 3 gigabyte, depending on whether you're prepaid or postpaid. Then the messaging is different, because you're talking to somebody who you have educated and who wants to get vaccinated, but just don't want to go and queue up. So whether it is going to work or not, I think we can only be optimistic that the approach that we are taking is going to work. And if it doesn't work, then we'll have to start looking at different approaches as a country. We know that if you look across the world, in Germany, for instance, if I'm not mistaken, there, once you get a vaccination, the different countries have taken different approaches, where you get a beer, in the States they want to give you
slice of pizza,
hard cash or slice of pizza, and people around the world have tried different things, because COVID-19 is new to all of us. And I think as a country we should not be afraid to try methods that sort of encourages people to come forward for vaccinations, because we are fighting against global myths about the pandemic, which is quite strong. And I think we should try whatever we can in a sort of educated assumption, and just hope that Namibians will appreciate the sort of approaches that we have. If it doesn't work, we'll have to try something else.
Good morning, my name is Lena Adishina from Namibia Presidency. Just that you explained the approach, I guess according to the question, because the same thing that you guys are talking about is a similar thing that Lady Pohamba and what's the other three hospitals were doing. Rhino Park, and we saw that the Lady Pohamba, they closed down. Even me, when I had to get vaccinated, I didn't have to queue up. It's exactly the same process that you guys are introducing now. But like, just a question, when you explain the approach, I hope people really pick up, because it's not something new. It's something that is there, and then you will see that Lady Pohamba, they closed down, because even though the platform is there for you to access exactly what time, you don't have to queue up, they still close down because the people are not coming from.
Yeah, I think it's different in a way. We're not claiming that this is the first. It's obviously the first global Namibian platform for COVID vaccinations, because you would still have to go to Lady Pohamba to go physically go there. I don't know how theirs work to go and register. Here you're sitting at home and you're getting onto your phone and you're saying, I'm registering from the comfort of my home, irrespective of where you are in Namibia. So it is a first in that sense. Because it's already, the country has a lot of other problems, including the high levels of poverty and so on and so on. You don't want to go and spend $30 Namibian to get into a taxi, to go and get registered, and then you come back. And some people that we've spoken to say that they have to go to the hospital at least 3 to 4 times, which is spending money. Now we're giving them an opportunity to sit at home, register, know exactly whether those vaccines are available, whatever they prefer, and then they go for their vaccination. So in that sense, it's the first.
I think I just wanted to say,
just to add on to that, Lady Pohamba, which market are they catering for? If you compare with where we are targeting, it's not the same.
Broad, like you said.
Exactly, it's not going to be as broad at the end of the day. What we're trying to do, we're trying to cater for as broad of a market as much as possible, and it's trying to have an inclusion. And we are all fully aware the first people that ran to go get vaccinated are those that with the information in front of them. They're advantaged and previously advantaged. So mostly, and that's what you picked up when you saw this huge uptake in vaccination in its infancy. But now it's us having to have an issue of exactly what you guys are alluding to, trying to convince in terms of education. And that's why, from an MTC perspective, we allow the experts to actually do that type of education. That's why we've partnered up with the Ministry of Information and MICT, as well as the Ministry of Health, because they are actually the ones that are driving that aspect of what type of information needs to be disseminated. We are key in technology. We are key in providing communication. And our CEO always says, man, and Seban. We are coming into our space to say, how can we assist with that mass communication that is going out, mass education that is coming out, to actually make it easier for our citizens to then go and get vaccinated. We're becoming a catalyst. We're not going to be a one-stop shop for this. We're trying to be a catalyst to actually make it come out much faster. The incentivization is, a thank you and a little nudge and push as well at the end of the day.
And you would recall that the roundtable discussions are going on almost a daily basis. But we have to do more, because there are still a lot of citizens out there who unfortunately don't have the information.
And I just wanted to say that the way I understand it, the real incentive actually is not the hour.
Yeah.
The real incentive is the fact that you're able to have this interface with this technology and have your system streamlined properly. And then the hour is just more like a gift.
Yes.
That's the way
I hope that's how you're going to present it.
Yeah.
Yes, madam, you had a question?
Mine is just the clarity. What platform are you going to use? Is it going to be on the MTC website, or where exactly can people access the info?
So it's going to be sitting, we're going to share with you the exact URL. We will have a link on the MTC website, but you can go directly as well onto the specific website. By the way, this website is 0 rated, so even if you don't have airtime, you'll still be able to have access to it. So it's not going to cost you anything in terms of data usage as long as you're on MTC's network. Okay.
Yeah, so that data does not become an issue. Why is MTC doing this? They're targeting the masses, and then they have to spend data at the end of the day to get on this 0 rated, and therefore nobody has to pay for it. I think that is the true value. Right? You had your hand up?
No.
Oh. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we look forward to more engagements.
Oh, by the way, you got moves.
See you.
I'll wait for your video.
How much is it worth? How much is it worth?
Oh, yeah. Just as you can get now, because she's on until 12:30. Until 12:30. So you should get it now.
What one you can come with? My family is not telling to go to our yes, don't do that.
You run away already.
Just the building.
I needed a quick video.
900 more than that.
Colleagues, thanks for coming.
Rely on all your friends